Big Zay.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, there's an awful important football game, and we talked to some people this morning about what it says about this season. I think a lot of us agree that it's been a very successful season for the Bears, but lo and behold, something about the Green Bay Packers coming to town on Saturday night makes this game of utmost importance. It could really send a message. We know the Bears in danger of going 2-5 if indeed they do not win this game. I'm talking about in the division. How important is this game for the franchise, for the city? Is that different than just the football team?
It's an important game because opportunities like this can be fleeting. They shouldn't be as fleeting as they have been for the Chicago Bears for a long time now, but you can't take opportunities in the postseason for granted. They've got one of 14 tickets, and they need to pursue it. And I think they're in a good headspace. I think they've got the right mindset, despite dropping the final two games of the regular season, and it's going to be interesting to see how they come out and play because it is the Packers, because they played the Packers twice since, the second Sunday in December. This is a big game. I don't think Packers adds a lot to it. If it does, you're overlooking what the true goal of each season is, and that's to get into the playoffs and be competitive and give yourself a shot. I think the rivalry in the upper Midwest takes a back seat when it's playoff football.
If that's the case, and I don't disagree at all, Brad, well put. If you look at the tape, you remove the rivalry aspect, you mute out the trash talking that's going on maybe in the Packer locker room. When you just look at the football part of it, where do you think the Bears have an advantage?
Well, there's a lot of elements of this game where if you said to me, this could go one way or the other. Caleb could play well. Caleb could struggle in his first playoff appearance. Jordan Love could play really well. Jordan Love could look rusty after some time off because of a concussion. The Bears could get back to their ways of getting some takeaways. They could really struggle, which they've getting the takeaways, which they've done a little bit against these better quarterbacks. I don't see a way that this Bears offensive line doesn't play well. So I think that's the strength. And I say that while acknowledging that they did not run the ball nearly as effectively as they needed to last week against the Lions defense. That Lions run defense is okay, maybe, right? There's nothing super special about that. So they should have been better there, but I would expect the offensive line will play well for the Bears. I think that's the strength of this football team, but they've got to take that advantage and turn it into points. The Bears have one field goal in the first half of two games against the Packers. So in four quarters, 3 points, of the two first halves against Green Bay. That's not going to cut it. You can't keep trying to play catch up and wait for your quarterback to throw his cape on when there's 4.5 minutes left in the game or something of that nature. They've got to get off to a better start. You don't want to allow the Packers in what's going to be a very challenging environment to come in and build some confidence right away and, to a degree, take the crowd out of it, right?
Yeah, I think when you sit back and look at the Bears in the last couple of games and you look at where they're at on at this point of the season, you got to ask yourself, is the defense good enough to make a playoff run? And I think that's a legitimate question. I think that the magic we saw earlier in the year when they had all the takeaways, and they've had a takeaway in each of the last couple of games, it just doesn't feel like they can plan on that, and they must get them in order to win these games. How do you look at that element of their team? Is it luck of the draw? Has that luck run out? Do you believe they're going to win the turnover battle, and do they have to?
Well, I sure think to give themselves a shot, they need to win it. They've got to be +1, preferably. If they go +2, they could win every Sunday, or in this case, Saturday, right? But of the 14 teams in the playoffs, the Bears have the worst scoring defense, right? They're 24.4 points per game, which league-wide was 23rd for the regular season. There's not another playoff team in that range. I think the next closest is the Steelers, who ranked 17th league-wide. So can they get on a run? Yeah, that defense, if it can get them to +2, I think they could go on a run. But I've made the point to you guys, I think at the beginning of this week, maybe even last week, you look at the takeaway totals here since about the start of December, and they got 3 interceptions from Shedeur Sanders against the Browns in a total blowout. They ran over them with the train. But against these other quarterbacks, and that's 2 games against the Packers, that's Brock Purdy, that's Jared Goff, it's kind of been a single takeaway each game. So we'll see where that's at. What's Green Bay's plan going to be? Because there was a period of that game, the Week 16 meeting at Soldier Field, where the Packers really got that running offense cranked up, and some of it was zone read with Malik Willis after Jordan Love was knocked out, but they were running Wilson like right up the gut. Josh Jacobs probably shouldn't have played in that game with the knee injury. So what's Green Bay's strategy? Do they want to hold the ball for a long time like they've had some success doing against the Bears? I from a coaching perspective, in terms of what are the top 2 or 3 goals that LaFleur has? What are the top 2 or 3 goals that Ben Johnson has? I think it's going to be fascinating, and then it's going to come down to execution.
I know you don't spend a lot of time dwelling on this stuff, Brad, but I just wonder how you would compare what you've heard from both teams this week, and what, if anything, has stood out to you about the Bears' approach publicly, or their approach mentally, the mindset that they're bringing into this game.
Yeah, I think that I think Ben Johnson did a good job of turning the page after that Detroit game, and that was a bad game for the Bears, right? And we know that they rallied there in the fourth quarter, but your offense is at home, and you got 0 points going in the fourth quarter. There was reason to look up. Okay, when's the last time the Bears were shut out at Soldier Field? When you got to do that at the start of a ball game in Week 18 for a playoff team, there's some things amiss. But they turned the page quickly. They got the focus right on the Packers. I think they're able to have some confidence because they beat Green Bay last time. Of course, everyone knows it took a whole series of quite huge plays there at the end, and you can't convince me that an onside kick doesn't have an element of luck in it, but it was a great kick by Cairo, and then Romeo Doubs he was using those frying pans to try to field it. So we'll see, but I think mentally they're probably in the right space. We've talked about that all year. Ben Johnson has done a really good job on a week in and week out basis of refocusing the team immediately, because quite frankly, you don't go on a stretch where you win 9 of 10 ball games if you're not doing that. It's not like the Bears had this roster that would stack up against the 85 Bears where some weeks you could roll out the ball and you knew they were going to go out there and kick ass. And I'm not saying the roster isn't good here, but they had to get refocused and get back to business, and they've been able to do that.
We should let you know that this segment with Brad Biggs is sponsored by Est Wing Professional Tools, made in the USA for over 100 years, estwing.com. And Brad, as you look at the reaction in Game 2 of this series, again, 3 games in 34 days, but in the second game, the Bears came out. Ben Johnson talked about it yesterday. Their emotions were not in check. I mean, you had the crowd surfing penalty to open the game. You had the hit on the quarterback, a late hit on the quarterback early. The Bears seemed like they were really shot out of a cannon. And he talked about controlling emotions, and he talked about how important it is not to pick up these penalties, etc. Did the experience of that game teach them something? I mean, in other words, they had a very poor start to that game. They did march down the field, and then they had that trick play. It felt like the emotional charge kind of prevented them from getting the good start, at least in that game. Do you believe that they will be more under control because they've talked about it? How will a young team react to their first playoff game in a lot of careers?
Hopefully with more poise than they opened that Week 16 game. But they've got enough guys in that locker room at different position groups, I think, to sort of lead the way when you look at a guy like Byard, Edmonds at linebacker, Grady Jarrett's been to a Super Bowl, Joe Tooney on the offensive line. Like I think you start going around a little bit, and they've got some Jonah Jackson also on the offensive line, so they've got some guys that have been there and had to do that before, but they are going to have to play well in the red zone, which they have. There hasn't been a lot of middle ground for them here lately. They've either been really good or, really bad, like they were in San Francisco. So they're going to have to be strong in the red zone because you would have to think Jordan Love and the Packers are going to have opportunities to make plays. The Bears have given up. They give up a lot of explosive plays. So you wonder, is Dennis Allen going to go to more? Lean towards more zone coverage, keep it in front of them, make the Packers go on a 65-yard drive, a 75-yard drive, and hope that you can take advantage in the red zone, or preferably make them make a mistake before that. But they should be more poised this time out. There's no excuse for that. And the penalty issues that sort of plagued the Bears, I think that was a first half of the season issue. There have been some instances here of late. Yeah, but they haven't been piling them up in bunches like they did out of the gates.
Who makes a bigger impact on tomorrow night's game for the Bears, Rome Odunze or Kyler Gordon?
Well, that's a good question. I want to say they probably benefit most from Kyler, just because I feel like they've got enough offensive weapons that if Rome isn't super sharp, and he's been out a while now, that they've got enough guys that can pick up the slack, right? I think we'd all agree on that. Like defensively, they got to get better. I mean, they've been so bad on third down here of late that they need help, and hopefully Kyler can provide it. We'll see what kind of football shape he's in. We'll see what he has. They have until 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, Saturday afternoon, to return him to the 53-man roster to make him eligible for the game. I would expect that to happen, but I also, you figure they probably take that up until about 3:00 before they make an announcement on Kyler Gordon and his availability for the game.
That'll be right after Ben Johnson's napping movie.
Who did you take, Brad? Break it down for us. Tell us how this game's going to go.
Yeah, this is a tough. I think this is a real toss-up. Like what, the Packers have scored 44 points in the two meetings this year. The Bears have scored 43. It's right down the middle. The Bears should have an advantage playing this game at home. The Packers have got 15, 16 guys on IR, and it's a lot more than just Micah Parsons. And I thought that they rebounded okay from Parsons, but then you saw that Baltimore game. You're understanding that they've lost, 4 in a row coming into the playoffs here, and maybe there's an asterisk with that because last week's game against the Vikings, they rested guys. They did not put forth an effort in that one, but I picked the Bears. I think it's going to be close, 27-23. Nothing would surprise me. Keys for the Bears, establishing a tone and being productive, running the football with that offensive line, somehow improving on third down. And a great way to start with that is to be better on early downs. So it's everything is in 3rd and 3 or less. And then they've got to play good defense in the red zone, because you'd have to imagine the Packers are going to be able to move the ball. Packers number 2 on offense in the entire league on third down. Jordan Love's productive on third down. And I would also add, get Love off his platform. Find a way. If you're not going to hit him, and that's easier said than done, find a way to get him off his platform. Make him move a little bit, flush him out of the pocket a little bit, but don't allow him to stand back there in a shooting gallery, because that's not a situation I think the Bears are equipped to handle well.
Great stuff, Big Z. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
a great
Brad.
game.
See you tomorrow.
Have a great weekend, guys. Enjoy the game.